It seems to me that everything here is wrong. Every level of everything. For example, that they waited till nighttime to announce the decision, knowing that the people were going to be out there. They already gave the kids in school off on Monday and Tuesday. Wouldn't it be better to have the kids in school so that they don't have to be out on the streets? I mean, it just seems like every level of where the system could fail, it has failed so far.
And until I'm proven wrong, I say that half those fires, there was 13 fires, I'm going to say about half of them were insurance fires.
I had a friend that was saying the same thing.
And the other half were started by the cops.
Even though you have no evidence, but you're willing to...
Well, I don't have any evidence otherwise. I mean, it would be consistent that the criminal element in that community are the cops. The prosecutor and the whole St. Louis cop community are racist and criminal, right? It's every time they come on TV, they're revealing themselves to be criminals and corrupt transparently. I'm not reading into what they're doing. So it would be consistent that the murdering cops and the other prosecutors who cover for the murdering cops would also be arsonists. People go, you can't say that. It's consistent. It's not as big a crime to be an arsonist as a murderer.
So you think perhaps the cops are actually causing fires because then it makes the protesters look bad?
It's called a false flag operation. And yes, they did it in Mexico. They just did it with the protesters in Mexico. They started a building on fire and set and blame. So yes, no doubt. By the way, they're shooting tear gas, which is illegal internationally. You can't use tear gas on people in war. You can't use tear gas, except we use it on our own citizens, those fucking pricks, and use it on our own goddamn citizens, chemical weapons left and right, and they're shooting tear gas. How do I know they didn't shoot a tear gas canister into a tire shop and start a fire that way? I bet they did, in fact.
So I'm with you on like 10% of that the fires seemed, I'm not going off the deep end with you, but the fires seemed odd, that they were bursting all over the place, just places were suddenly
and then they would
burning down.
There was one car on fire. We all saw the one car on fire. Then there was two cars on fire.
Did they show that car on fire?
The same parking lot.
I didn't get a chance to look at that.
The same parking lot. And then they wouldn't put it out until all the cars caught on fire. Then they brought in the fire department.
Right, okay.
After they waited for it all to go up.
Ben, do you want to couch a little bit of what Jimmy's saying there?
I don't think the cops set fires, although the first time that you said that yesterday on the Young Turks, and I thought it sounded nuts, but amusing. And then, but now when you're like firing tear gas into the tire shop, that was the first time I was like, well, all right, okay, maybe.
You really don't think the cops would start fires to blame it on the crowd on purpose? Is that really crazy?
I think that
that's consistent with their criminal behavior.
Their criminal behavior is not necessary. They don't need their criminal behavior to be that insidious. They get to do it in the open. Mm-hmm. Like their criminal behavior is, we can discharge our weapon where we see fit, and then we stand by our guys and we don't properly investigate the case, and then the prosecutor presents a nonsense case to the grand jury, unlike he's ever done before, and we don't get a guy indicted. Like, it's no big deal. We don't have to set fires. Now, did they have a vested interest in sort of it looking like mayhem? You know, Chris Hayes on MSNBC kept pointing out, there aren't that many people here. But theoretically, you would see someone at some point would see someone set a fire. These fires were not set in parts of the town where nobody was. So theoretically, some people, protesters, saw it. If a cop was doing it, I mean, I guess he'd be undercover, but...
All right, I don't want to get too hung up on that.
I'm saying a cop could easily tell a guy that's what they do all the time. They make him turn and give him information so they could go, hey, I won't prosecute you, or, we're going to charge you for murder unless you go start this fire. They have 3 months to plan this.
I got it. Here's the thing. If that happened, that is an unbelievable story and a great story.
Unbelievable?
And no, I mean, it's
What's more unbelievable?
Hold on. It's a fantastic story, and it's a story that journalists would be like, the cops said, this is the greatest story I've ever written. It's a pretty big risk to be paying informants off to set fires and counting that those informants are not going to talk about it later.
But not to publicly go on camera and reveal that you're a corrupt, because that's what that prosecutor did. And he said, I'm not going to prosecute this guy. In fact, I'm going to act as a defense attorney for the cop who murdered a black unarmed kid from 35 feet away.
But he doesn't have to answer to anybody for that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we both think this guy's corrupt and should never have been on the case. His father, of course, was a police officer, killed in the line of duty by a black suspect with a gun, by a black killer with a gun. So,
and what's the prosecutor's? What is his record on prosecuting cops who shoot unarmed men?
It's pretty solid. He's 0 for 5.
0 for 5.
He's 0 for 5.
He's a crook.
All right. Well, I would basically say that, you know, claims like that, you need some evidence behind it. But yes, it wouldn't. But yes, getting the evidence is hard because they're probably good at it. So I'm sort of with you. So just last thing on this. What do you think at this point? What do you think the protesters want? What do they gain at this point by now, you know, blocking roads and the whatever looting is going on and all that? What is their end game at this point, or is it just to keep the story going?
My question is, so we just get to have a completely corrupt police, we completely corrupt county attorney who's not going to prosecute murdering cops. So when does the federal government step in and do something? When does he nationalize the National Guard instead of letting the fucking governor, who's also corrupt, who didn't replace this guy? And I'm not saying that he's a criminal. I'm saying he's a craven politician who wouldn't do the right thing. The right thing was to replace this prosecutor, and he didn't do it for political reasons. When do they nationalize the National Guard and say you're no longer a police department?
So answer that question. Bring us home. What does the government do now to just?
I expect a little more from a chief executive named Nixon, right? Okay. I don't know. The federal government's investigation is continuing. There's two investigations essentially that they're looking at, two options, both the Ferguson Police Department in general.
But I mean, and the immediacy. What do they do in these next couple days where it's still going on there and now we're seeing it spread? What do you think they can do to kind of temper it?
They just appoint another prosecutor. The governor can do whatever he wants. They still can prosecute this guy.
Right, but that's the stuff that's weeks away or months away or whatever. You know what I mean? That's not happening tomorrow. He's not suddenly replacing him tomorrow and reconvening.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know whether the pressure would be so intense that it might cause something like that to happen. Legal experts seem to say that's incredibly unlikely.
Yeah.
Incredibly unlikely. It's not, I don't know, unprecedented. It's legal. You could certainly do it. He could face civil rights charges. Those are really tough to pull since the middle of the century because you have to show intent. And not just intent to kill, but you have to show intent to deprive someone of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as opposed to what the obvious case for every cop who kills somebody in the line of duty is I felt threatened for my life. With the Klan members in 1964 in Philadelphia, Mississippi, the famous Mississippi Burning, the movie, those cops were prosecuted under civil rights violations because they were in the Klan. Right, and it made it a little easier. But ever since that law was written in Reconstruction in like 1870, and it didn't have the intent part. The intent part got added, and that intent has been interpreted now to show that they have to directly show, and it's hard to show that Darren Wilson is a racist. So that's why that's unlikely, but it's not impossible. I mean, I read a piece in Slate today where the headline was the feds should charge Darren Wilson with civil rights murder, but they probably can't, and here's why.
Yeah. All right, well, I think if we've proven anything, it's that this case isn't going anywhere, and obviously we will keep talking about it.